Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about the standard form equation of a circle. And then after talking about where that equation comes from, I would like to do one example just putting it to use. So when we write the equation for a circle, just like we do with the equation for any other graph, we want to define it in terms of x and y. Consider the equation of a line. We normally write that as y equals mx plus b. You have a y in there, you have an x in there, and those are your two variables, and those represent the points on our coordinate plane. Okay, so you have your x and your y coordinate. So we want to do the same thing for a circle. We do have some additional variables that can go in there, but those are usually things that we know, things that are given to us. For a circle, maybe we know where the center is. Okay, so maybe that's given to us. Maybe we know what the radius of the circle is. Those are the two things that define the circle, right? So the center, the radius, I have a pretty good idea what that's going to look like. So those are the two things that we should be given. And then with those, we want to be able to define the circle in terms of x and y. Okay, so we want this to be arbitrary. So we want this to work for any circle. So for the center, let's use a couple variables here. So I'm going to say that this is point HK. We use H and K, it's just pretty standard when we're talking about things like circles. So HK, those can be anything. All right. And then the other piece we're going to know is the radius of the circle. So I draw that in. Again, we want this to be able to be anything. So let's say that is a radius of length r, however big that is. Okay. So now I want to be able to write an equation that relates. Let me just actually, one additional thing. This point on the circle, we can represent this with x and y. I said I want to be able to define the equation in terms of these. So an x and a y, that's going to represent any point on the circle. Okay, it doesn't have to be here. I could have drawn x and y anywhere we want. But now we want to relate these five things together in an equation. And the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to go back and we're going to use triangles. We have a very powerful tool when we're doing triangles. We have the Pythagorean theorem. So if I draw in a right triangle, so I have a horizontal piece and I have a vertical piece. Because one is horizontal and one is vertical, I know that that has to form a right angle. And now if that's a right angle, I can use the Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. One of the sides of this triangle we already know. I already know the radius is r. That is something that was given to us. And that is the hypotenuse of the circle, or the triangle. So instead of c, we can say that's r squared. Now for a and b, so maybe that's a and that's b, we need to rewrite those in terms of x and y and in terms of h. All right, so let's think about this point right here. So vertically, it's directly in line with xy. So this is going to have an x coordinate of x, the same one as here. Horizontally, it's in line with this point, the center of our circle. So that means that it has to have the same y value. So the y value for this point is also k. Now whenever we're looking at a horizontal or vertical distance in the coordinate plane, we can define that with the difference of the values. So for example, if I want to find the length of this segment, because it's horizontal, the length of this is just going to be the difference of the two x coordinates. So for A, that length is the same as x minus h. And then the same thing for B. Since this is a vertical segment, if I want to find the length of that, it is the difference of the two y values. So B is the same as y minus k. And now that I know those in terms of x's, h's, y's, and k's, we can substitute that into our Pythagorean theorem. And we end up with x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to the radius squared. And this is your standard form equation, where h and k is the center of the circle, and we have a radius r. So if I want to write the equation of a circle, so for example, let's say we're given a center, and let's say that the center is 2, -9, and we have a radius that equals 4.2. With this given information, I can write the equation for the circle. So this is h, this is k, and we know what r is. So we just need to plug that in. So x minus h, so x minus 2 squared, plus y minus k. So that negative sign is built into this equation. So it's actually minus a -9, which turns that into +9. And that is equal to 4.2 squared. And then just to finish this up, I'm just going to multiply that out. So 4.2 times itself. And that is equal to 17.64. So here's our standard form equation.